Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EEDC. My name is Tyler, and today I'm just doing a pocket dump. I'm kind of getting away from the themes. I'm giving it like a week break. Seems like it's a short week anyways. Yesterday I didn't do a pocket dump, and I need time to come up with more themes for it. It's kind of fun, but I think I'm one of the few people participating in Me With Knives and Spalding and a couple others. But today I'm just going to do a pocket dump, and taking this week-long break lets me actually focus on some of the loaner knives I have in for review that I really need to get to. So let's start off with my fifth pocket knife. This isn't a loaner knife, and I'm glad because this is awesome. The Titanium Penguin in 154 cm. I don't believe it's CPM 154. I think it's 154 cm. Yep, 154 cm. So I believe this one takes a better polish than the CPM 154. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to go back and rewatch some of the videos I'm regurgitating information from. But if you guys see that action, I'm working on a video that's going to teach you guys how to get that action. Now, most of us know how to get this action. But do you? Because I've been in the knife hobby for like a year and a half, but I jumped in and I've watched way too many videos, bought way too many knives, modded too many knives that I shouldn't have modded, but learned from it, right? And, you know, in the process, I feel like my year and a half of really diving into the knife world probably equates to somewhere around 2.5 to 3, just because of how hard I went into it. This is my only hobby. Work, family, and knives. Like, that's all I do. So, and before you make a comment, I enjoy that hobby as my only hobby, so thank you very much. Anyways, I'm going to teach you guys how to do it. It's not as intuitive as you might think, but it's pretty simple. And no, it's not your bearings. I would give it 5 to 6 times out of 10. It is not your freaking bearings causing you not to have this type of action. A little bit of wiggle shut, trying to do it as least as possible. Like that. You're not going to get that just from bearings, guys. There's so many more factors at play. Not so many more. There's like 4 different factors at play. And so you really got to pay attention to certain things. I don't want to divulge too much because I want to kind of create a little bit of excitement for this video, because I think I'm the first one to go into this type of method. And so I'm kind of excited to share that with you guys. But I do want to make sure that they're, you know, that it's, I tried to make a video today on it, and there's certain caveats to it that I didn't realize. So I'm not, I won't go any further into that. But this is the QSP Penguin in titanium and 154 cm on bearings, and it is awesome. So good of a knife. This, in my opinion, is a very different knife from the original QSP Penguin, which I did love. But the frame lock with the bearings, and it feels like it has a thinner profile. It's just, it's really, really nice. So I'm loving this 154 cm Penguin. Kind of sucks, like, I had the bug out in the smock and the Esprit, and I was like, yo, these are like the 3 knives that I could live forever with. Like, I'm perfectly happy with all of these knives. Not that any of my other knives fall by the wayside, but these 3 are like the ones that I'm choosing to carry over and over and over. And it seems like just in a flurry, like, knives started coming out that were comparable. And it made me be like, man, I jumped the gun on that thought process. But I don't think I did. I think we went through a relative dry spell, and we're probably still in a dry spell, but I hit like a wave that came in, and the Penguin was part of that wave. I was like, wow, that is super, super nice. And then I got a couple other ones in that I can talk about them. You guys, seeing them on an unboxing is totally different. But the unboxing I just posted today, the Vero Isotope. That thing, it didn't get that many reviews, and those that reviewed it were so disappointed in it. And I was like, shit, did I make a bad trade? Because I think I traded like the Medford Praetorian Scout for it or something like that. Price is comparable. Yeah, not Praetorian Scout, the Medford Praetorian Slim. And I was like, I don't know. I love it. I think it's awesome. I don't see any problem with the tumble finish like they both had. I haven't looked at it under a fine-tooth microscope. I'm just doing by room lighting. Once I get like my flashlights and set up, I'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb to see if I'm actually missing something. But I don't think it's that. I really don't notice anything. The action was gritty. I'll give it that. And this was secondhand. This wasn't even brand new. And it has that grinding sound where it's like when you do that. That goes into. That's actually the catalyst that kind of got me onto a different track as far as getting this really, really good action. Which, by the way, this is the Asher Spyro. This was lent into the channel by Jake from Ohio State. So everybody go follow Jake if you haven't already. Subscribe to him. He does awesome content, and his reviews aren't as mundane as ours, right? They're not like, all right, so here's the specs. Here's what I think it'll be good at. I carried it for a day. Here's what it is. No, like, his reviews are... He kind of doesn't give a shit about the little details as far as like, hey, they spent all the time on... He cares how it actually functions for his everyday job. It's kind of like Dave Likes Knives, who's been MIA for a while. Come on back, Dave. But it's more of a practical use review on how he likes it and why he likes it and why it works for him, but maybe not somebody else. So go check out Jake at Ohio State. But this is the Asher Spyro that he lent me in. And I gotta be honest, I've been avoiding Asher because they're one of the clone companies, right? You got Gonzo, who just dominates the clone freaking world. And then a couple others, but then Asher had that clone bug out that was just, I mean, there's no denying it was a freaking clone, right? Like it's the exact same, just doesn't look as good, and it's just like 3/4 the price. So I avoided them, but he sent me this one, and I'm like digging through my knives, and I'm like, I feel like this is a clone of something. I could not find anything that it resembled. It just looks like a generic, not generic, but it's just a typical drop point with a little bit of pizzazz going around with some G10. And actually, like, this is the action beef. I didn't mess with this. The only thing that I did with this was put a drop of heavy lube on the detent. Stupid. That is really, really nice. And there's no back and forth, no side to side. It's just great. No detent lash. Really, really solid put together knife that, from what I can see, for the G10 version, in S35, mind you, coming in at like $70. So that's a pretty sweet deal for just a relative, just a S35 VN, pretty straightforward blade with decent ergonomics, pretty good ergonomics actually. No real plunge grind or anything. We'll go into all that later. I don't want to look at it now, but it doesn't look like there's much of a plunge grind or anything like that, but not a big deal. It's just, we'll talk about that later. Overall though, for a user, this is really freaking good. Really good. They're coming out with the titanium version for like $95. And that's 35, I believe, frame line. To be able to do that, I mean, I really want to scrutinize what the hell they're doing, because it's kind of like Tucson. Like, how do you get your prices so low, yet use the same materials as everybody else, but keep your quality seemingly just as high? I don't know. I mean, that's another thing. We talk about material costs and whether or not something should cost as much based on materials. Yes, there is. I don't want to pay over, as Metal Complex would say, $50 for VG10. I think that's a little much. I think $90 for VG10 is pretty acceptable. Anything above that's a little much. D2, I really don't want to pay anything over $60, but there's exceptions. Look at the Best Tech Bison. Phenomenal knife. Titanium frame lock. Awesome. Awesome knife. Worth all of the $110 that it is. And, as long as they heat treated that D2 okay, I mean, you're still getting a steal, because that thing is a beast. Shout out to Corey at the Practical Blade for that trade. Yeah, so realistically, it's not so much the materials. They're a big part of it, okay? It's all about what's in your hand and what makes you happy. But you gotta go into the just the quality and the fit and finish. And with quality and fit and finish comes tolerances, right? I was joking with Jake earlier today because I was talking to him. I was like, yo, I tightened the pivot, and I couldn't believe it. The action was awesome. And he's like, man, I tightened down those pivots before I sent them to you, and because I know you're a stickler for back and forth. And it's so weird because they were so loose. And he said he cranked them down. So it's like the male sometimes. I've had other people send me knives where their pivots are like totally backed out. I don't know what's going on with the male. Maybe it's the hot, cold or something. But damn, the mailman fucking takes your pivots and backs them out on himself, apparently. What I'm getting at is the reason that I'm such a stickler for that pivot, plus the action, is a very strong indicator of how well and good their tolerances are. If you can get that blade centered and not have any back and forth, but still have acceptable action. Now, obviously, if I took this out and I backed it out 3 turns, this thing's going to go wink and just drop shut. Well, duh, there's no pressure on it. But if you can get those tolerances perfect and it still does that, that's going to cost you way more than the materials itself. There's so many extra checks and so many extra precise movements that have to go into it that's where Chris Reeve kind of goes back to. I mentioned it in another video. Are they worth the $400 or whatever dollars that they cost? Yes. Because of their tolerances, because of how tight everything works together, how solid of a lockup that knife is, with having tight action, yeah, but it's on purpose because that action does break in over time and it allows those tolerances to be just stupid tight. The counter argument to that would be, I know several other knives that have stupid tight action, or stupid tight pivots, and their action's perfect. Like I get that, but that's just my example. So, anyways, that's a long, skinny short about why I kind of obsess over action, the back and forth, the up and down, and and some people don't. Some people don't care. There's people out there that really just don't care. Like, I can't tell you the average knife person doesn't even know action is a thing. Like, the dude that carries, so I had a tech rep come out for one of our machines at my last job, and we were working together, and I seen him pull out a knife, and I'm like, whoa, that's a Spyro, bro. Like, you're like, damn, because you don't expect somebody who's a non-knife person to have like a knife person knife. And he had the G10 Spyro Tenacious, which kind of felt really good, by the way. But god damn it, you had easily a back and forth on the blade when it was locked up. Well, let's do it like this. And I'm like, and his edge, you could have literally hammered a nail in with his edge. Like, that's how freaking flat it was. He didn't even realize it. He was just still using the hell out of it. So I put a real crappy edge on it at the time because I still wasn't good at putting on edges. I would say I am approaching the cusp of being good at putting on edges. You guys will see sharpening videos when I get confident, because sometimes still now, like, I'll get to a point where I try different shit because I get irritated and impatient, which you shouldn't. You should just walk away and stay the course. But overall, I got a pretty good system, jeez, that can pop hairs off you. And I've almost gotten to a mirror polish by hand, which you guys know is my goal. Once I get to a mirror polish by hand, I will be perfectly acceptable putting 600 grit, 800 grit finishes on knives, because yes, they are definitely more bitey. And they're kind of like scary bitey, like it's crazy. I put one on my fixed blade Elementum. I worked on this a little bit. You can't really see it. There's gunk and stuff on there. But man, as soon as I put that on there, it makes so much more sense to have a fixed blade with like a stupid bitey edge. It was cool. I think that's all this video really needs to I think that's all I want to put in this video. Didn't want to take somebody else's line, which you're so influenced by other people. So anyways, long story short, QSP Penguin, Asher Knife Spyro. I'll probably be comparing those because they're kind of in the same budget realm as far as badass budget knives. Just like the Scoria. The Scoria is going to get compared to the Penguin because right now, I would pay $150 for this. And this is like $94. This is amazing, this Penguin. So it's kind of like right as it sucks. Right as like CGRB's like, ha, we're back. QSP's like, wow, no, you're not. Penguin, boop boop. Right. So, yeah, there it is. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks for watching.